days before this operation began. And, it was apparently only due to requests from the Chinese or Chinese officials that Iran agreed to this 2 week ceasefire in the first place. Obviously, with what the Israelis are doing, I don't see any way that this ceasefire is going to last more than a few more hours. But here's the thing about the Iranians. They've really surprised me with respect to being individuals that stick to their word. And I don't believe there's any chance that Iran is going to yield. In fact, I'm 90 something percent sure that I'm 99.9% sure that they're not going to yield when it comes to not continuing in this mode of ceased hostilities or frozen hostilities if the Israelis are pummeling the Lebanese in the way that they are. And remember, as you know better than I do, the Iranians clearly stated that any attacks, any continuation of attacks, whether by the Israelis or by US forces in the region against resistance factions, whether the Houthis in Yemen, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza or in other parts of Palestine, and whatever other, and I think that's about it. If any of those groups are attacked, that this cessation of hostilities would immediately come to an end. So, with that, I think that we've already seen this ceasefire come to an end. It just hasn't been covered that way by the extremely dishonest press that we have in the United States. Another thing that I found kind of interesting was that apparently 10 out of the 13 US military bases in the region are no longer housing US military forces. And it looks like new US bases in the region are likely going to be established or built in Israel, Turkey, Jordan, or they might use Incirlik and other bases that they already have in Turkey, Jordan, and maybe Saudi Arabia as well. It looks like US military leaders have also been saying behind the scenes to people they know that this offensive or this war could easily go on or continue until 2028. And a couple of thoughts I wanted to share really quickly, listening to the conversation and wanting to chime in, but certainly don't want to
With the
interrupt you
strait
guys.
closed, you think it could go? You think it could go to 2028 with the strait closed? The economy wouldn't
That's an
exist.
interesting, no, that's a very interesting question. Simon, I have no idea at this point. We're kind of in uncharted waters when it comes to the way that this war has been prosecuted. I wouldn't be entirely surprised to see some kind of hybrid arrangement take place where some countries are allowed safe passage and the United States continues to be denied passage. But either way, this is obstructing the flow of energy to countries
I
like
don't think
China.
that's the game. The game is not, the game is to launch an economic war that draws this to a conclusion. If you let it go to 2028 and just restrict US, that's a weak strategy.
Exactly.
You gotta go while the economy is in ruins. That's where you have to do it.
Yeah, that's your own leverage. Hassan, I want to ask you something quickly. In terms of this current situation, I mean, why did the Iranians even agree to this deal? It seems like this was just, and I guess we were kind of alluding to this yesterday, that the Americans never had any real movement towards actually having a ceasefire. The Israelis would never ever do it. This looks like this was just his out so that he didn't cause, the threat. He couldn't fulfill the threat, and this was his out, and now they're back to bombing again. So why give him that out?
Well, I mean, I hope materially it doesn't make much difference because at the end of the day, I don't think the IRGC for a minute stopped preparing for a response, right? We saw as soon as they hit the oil facilities. I can't remember where it was, but they hit some important refinery somewhere in the Republic. They responded by striking, certain Gulf nations. I think it was Kuwait and UAE. So they did it immediately. So it's not like they're waiting around and thinking, oh, we ceasefire, we're going to go back home now. They're in a state of war. But you have the IRGC and you have the liberals, and the liberals, like I think the most kind of known one is obviously Zarif, another one's Rouhani. These two, and then there's quite a few of them, unfortunately, who have this view that you can somehow negotiate with America, even though basically now America and this Jewish colony are inseparable and they're one entity now. But they somehow think that you can negotiate with them, and those people I believe actually pose an existential threat to to the Republic. And I've spoken to Iranians, some Iranian friends of mine. They agree with me on this, that these group of individuals can't be trusted. You know, they may have ulterior motives. You know, for years and years they've been talking about negotiations, and they've taken the Republic down a path where, after just 30 days of war, they managed to remove the sanctions from themselves, and they've had the capability to do that for many years. So you know, people have to realize now that the discussion of having some kind of settlement or end of war with the continued existence of the Jewish colony is remains an existential threat. So long as that colony exists, we will be under existential threat. We will not be under a threat. We will be under existential threat. So it's like the war now, but continuously. That's what people have to come to the realization of. At that point, enough people will wake up, back the Republic, and do what's necessary, which is to end this cancer, this cancer that's been plaguing the region for 80 years, and only then can you have peace. So long
So
as it exists.
Hassan, do you put it down to disjointed communication within Iran and different factions of acceptance without getting sign off from other people that would never have accepted? Do you think that's what it is? Or
I think the issue is you've got diplomats speaking to, trying to keep the diplomatic channels open, like with Pakistan, for example. They want to maintain certain relationships, and so you'll see them they can't cut off their friends. The Republic isn't going to cut
but
off.
if you agree to a ceasefire and then I guess because we know how this
It was
works, that
conditional. It was conditional. So even Arakchi,
yeah,
even though a lot of people criticize Arakchi, if you look what he said if they stop, then we will stop. He knew Arakchi isn't stupid. He's a very smart guy. He knew that they wouldn't stop. So he put the condition to. It's like an insurance policy that he probably knew he'd have to activate straight away. He would
but
knew they would
I guess
continue to
the
attack.
problem is we saw this time and time again, right? Because Israel and the West control the media, they then kick up the PR machine and say, "Oh, Iran broke the ceasefire, or Gaza broke the ceasefire, or Hamas broke the ceasefire." So you give them tools when you do these things, right? Because the PR machine's going to hit now, saying how we wanted peace, but Iran's committed to
I mean, look,
terrorism and all that shit.
the media's propaganda machine's always been there. All you can do at this stage, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're under existential threat, and you have to try to destroy this existential threat. By all means. Now, the diplomats will continue to do the smart thing. Maybe people will say the right thing, which is to show that they are rational actors, which they are, that they will give peace every chance, while knowing that actually has no chance. I think that's a stage that people like Arakchi and the martyred Laranjani would be at, where they knew that, okay, here's a peace deal, we accept it, but really they knew they weren't going to accept it. That happened when this war started. If you saw the response, it was straight away, without hesitation, because they all knew it was coming. Nobody had a doubt that it was coming, despite all the bravado. So the Americans and the colony think that they are smart people, that they can outwit the Islamic Republic, that they don't know what they're doing. But the game's up now, and every time now they come for any kind of negotiation, it's going to be met with complete, denial that this is even possible, and that it's just for show. So they might proceed with it. The real liberals might even somehow think it's possible. But at the end of the day, it will be back to the same situation where you'll have the continued war, you'll have more bloodshed, more genocide. Now in Lebanon, what's happened is genocide. This is actually what I was talking about when I said zero-sum game. I've said it multiple times on the space. Zero-sum game means we total victory on one side or the other, and the only way that the Jewish colony understands is to massacre and murder its way to victory. And it will do that because that's the only tool it's got. And it won't stop until it's forced to stop. And forcing it to stop means it being brought into complete submission, not some stalemate, not some peace deal, not some fake negotiation and agreement. Complete submission. That's the only way.
Yeah, so like translating that into market reality, yesterday we were at breaking point with $115 with the threat of a nuclear war. Now this happens and oil's back down to like $95. So the time it takes between 95 and $115 is what we seem to continually be seeing here. So the market will gradually realize, okay, there's no relief rally here. Then it will come back up to 115, and then then Trump looks for the next rabbit to pull out of the hat, and it seems to keep working, and it just worked again. But every time the masses see these things, they become less and less effective. But it looks like we're going back to the major threat of a continual recession, severe supply chain issues, and in certain countries, humanitarian crisis, because that's where this goes. As a result of Israel and America deciding, whatever for whatever reason, whatever the strategy was, that the ceasefire needed to be broken. Now, whether that was someone changed their mind or this was a strategy all along, or whatever it is, we'll never fully know. But but they have successfully got the price of oil down to $95. So we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, I think you're
Some more
100%.
breaking news. Some more breaking news. Pakistan. What do you call it again? Pakistan are at the United Nations, and they're saying that Lebanon is included in the ceasefire. So they're saying Lebanon is included in the ceasefire. Sorry, go ahead. Whoever I interrupted.
Yeah, no, I was just saying I think Simon's completely correct. And it's funny actually because I've really been following these little market manipulations closely, and if you pay attention, the psyop gets more complex every time. Like because they know that like they have to go a step further each time for people to keep believing them. And like this time they came out with the whole, oh, the civilization is going to end. Because why? Because that really scared the shit out of everyone. And it almost makes you forget, that fear makes you forget all of the previous attempts at this sort of manipulation. And then it also it changes the bar. So then when they come out and say, "Oh, there's a ceasefire," just that relief makes people. It changes the baseline, right? You go from being scared out of your mind to, "Oh, everything's okay." And yeah, I don't know how much longer they can keep this up and how much longer people are going to believe them. Every time this happens, people are getting in with leverage, and then when they get the price to go down, they're wiping a bunch of bulls out of the market. So you can get like a pretty massive move and kind of scare people from getting back in or ruining their ability to get back in the market. But it's going to come to an end eventually. I don't know how much this affects the real price of oil, like physical barrels. And to the degree that it does, that's only going to cause shortages because, like everyone's been saying, the strait has stayed closed. And yeah.
Thanks for that. Tom, do you want to jump in somewhere, and then we'll go to Rahul?
Yeah, brother, absolutely. Something really quick. It's just an interesting thought. Might be something that you guys don't necessarily resonate with, or you might, but we'll see. So, look, obviously, at this point, Trump's legacy is beyond cooked, beyond eternally cooked. Unless he did something extremely courageous that I'm sure would feel terrifying and uncomfortable to someone who's grown up in a bubble and has been in a bubble. There, it's interesting. Trump likes to pretend he's a gangster, and I don't doubt that he is to a certain extent. The problem is he fancies himself kind of a tough guy, and he certainly isn't because he's been in bubbles his whole life. And it's kind of interesting watching someone that among the billionaire class that he's kind of comfortable hanging out with and the New York aristocrats that he interacts with or has interacted with throughout much of his adult life. I guess he does kind of feel like a tough guy among those people. He's a little bit rougher around the edges. He played some sports when he was younger, so he's physically more competent than some of them. But the guy's soft. He's playing a role. He's fooled himself into believing that he's tough and all, but he's never been thrown out into the wild on his own. He's always had bodyguards, and whether it was when he was a kid, he always had some degree of safety based on his family coming from a wealthy background. As a young man and as an adult, at no point in time did he ever venture off on his own and have adventures and realize what it takes to take care of yourself. And so the guy's he's a paper tiger. He's a clown. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, I would love either way. Everybody can redeem themselves, and I know this isn't gonna. I know this is extremely unrealistic. It's like there's less than a 1% chance that this would happen, less than a fraction of a 1% chance that this would happen. But what I would love to see would be for Trump to do the courageous and frankly the only thing that he could do at this point to go from eternal zero back to, among a lot of people, being a beloved hero, at least to some, and salvage his legacy from the jaws of defeat. And the only way at this point that he could do that is by doing this, announcing some kind of extraordinary and historic emergency action address where he just levels with people. Look, guys, there are things that might come out that are not convenient, that might make it so that I'm reviled and seen as a sick son of a whatever for the rest of eternity. But I'm now in a position where I could do something that could truly change world history. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to level with the American people and tell them that the situation is as cooked as you all believe it is. The Israelis are running my administration, and I need you guys to step out and protest. Of course, this is never going to happen. But were he to, not necessarily that, but some kind of message where he levels with people. Look, half of the reason these things are happening is because I'm compromised. And the reason events are taking place is the amount of control that I'm allowing these people to have over me
Tom,
because I'm
Tom,
terrified that they're. Yeah, go ahead, brother, please.
you're asking for a mass murderer, child rapist, child mass murderer, terrorist,
No, I know he's never going to do it, brother.
warmonger,
He's never going to do it. But if we had
warmongerer,
a decent, if
somebody
we
who,
had
wait,
someone that
hold on,
was
hold on.
even moderately, yeah, go ahead.
This is who you're talking about. You want him to, at the age of 80 years old, repent publicly. Somebody
I
who's
wish he
built his
would.
whole life on lies, on cheat, on deception. His very existence is evil. Even Nick Fuentes the other day, he came out and said, actually, this guy is pure evil. When you look at the definition of evil, Trump is the manifestation of that. You want Satan himself to come out and repent. This is delusional. It's not even worth discussing. The only thing you can talk about is how to remove him, how to regime change America. To talk about him changing, like he has some kind of legacy, this guy who's literally murdered children and little girls and raped them, you want him to come out and repent? No, no. You need to talk about regime change. You have the Satan you need to remove. That's what you need to be concerned about.
Yeah, I was
No,
pretty
Hassan, here's the
supportive
point
of
I'm trying to
Trump.
make really
I was
quickly.
pretty
Yeah,
supportive of him, but
Robert, let me go ahead,
this
brother,
is
because
a
I was
bridge too
addressed.
far.
Robert, I appreciate it, brother, but I was addressed. Allow me to respond. Thank you. Hassan, there's zero chance on earth he would ever do that. I only did that to illustrate a point that that's
But Tom, if you can make it concise as well. Where's Robert gone? I
yeah,
want him back
bro.
because I want
If
to
I
hear.
were in that position, that's what I would do. Had I been compromised in the way that Trump has. It's just absolutely ridiculous that someone trying to protect their legacy is risking a situation that could cost potentially billions of people their lives if this
Trump's primary
spirals
concern,
out of control.
his primary concern is his life. He wants to get every day of his life that he's got, and he knows if he does that, he'll get killed. So he won't do it.
This is true. Yep.
Okay, let's go to Rahul. Rahul, jump in.
Hi guys, hi Suleiman and Simon and Beatrix and the rest of the crew. Thanks again for a fantastic space. Okay, look, I'm very clear on this. From the time that the so-called ceasefire was announced or pronounced, it's again just another ruse. It is absolutely just another ruse, false flag. It's a lie, whatever you want to call it. And that is from the experiences that we've had from the Zionist entity for time immemorial. Most recently, of course, and we've discussed this on your space before, Suleiman, if you recall, during the Gaza genocide, there was a so-called ceasefire that was called. It didn't even last one day. The Zionist entity just continued with their genocide. Then the next so-called ceasefire, all of the hostages were handed back, all of the Zionist hostages were handed back, and they just continued with their genocide. They're still doing it now as we speak. And because they have murdered, assassinated all of the journalists in Gaza, we are unable to even get any news that's coming out of there. So in this case, it was just a huge ruse. It enabled, in fact, Trump to manage the price of oil. their intel wasn't as good as they thought it was. So it allows them to strategically regroup and reset and have a discussion about it to decide how they're going to move forward. It allows them to politically also reshuffle their cards, make more overtures to Western Europe, because they did not expect Western Europe to leave them in the lurch. But all of them, including France and Germany and the UK, who had always stood by them, was not standing by them this time around. And then, of course, the double veto that happened at the United Nations. So all of those things put together, they just played this card of a ceasefire. The second point that I want to make is about Pakistan. Remember, Pakistan, they're different to Oman. Pakistan are not facilitators. In fact, Pakistan is in competition with nothing more than that. They are not brokers of peace. The third and last point about it is that, I see now, I don't know if this was brought up on your space earlier, the White House is saying that they are dispatching a team being led by Vice President J.D. Vance for talks with Iran in Pakistan on Saturday. At the same time, the White House is also saying that Lebanon was never part of the deal, you see? Now, remember what I'm saying is that there were messages that were being carried forward via Pakistan. So they never actually spoke.
Wait, say that last bit again.
So the White House is now saying that Lebanon was never part of the deal.
Yeah, we know that.
And Iran is saying that Lebanon was always part of the deal. But remember the fact, Suleiman, that they never spoke directly to one another. They were just messages that were carried via Pakistan. And then Netanyahu is kind of claiming victory because he's saying that all of the goals that Iran had set for themselves, they have failed. And Lebanon was never ever part of the
Okay,
equation.
just breaking news. I'm gonna give it straight back to you, and I'm not interrupting, but just
Sure,
about
sure.
it's not going through.
No problem.
It's gone through. Okay. Remember Galibaf, the one would maybe describe him as the chief negotiator. He's made the following statement. Statement on the violation of the 3 key clauses of the 10-point agreed framework before the start of the negotiations. He says, quote, "The deep historical distrust we hold towards the United States stems from the repeated which to negotiate and the main framework for these talks." So remember, because Caroline Levitt said, we've thrown that 10 points in the bin, but Trump tweeted it out. He says, however, 3 clauses of this proposal have already been violated so far. 1, non-compliance with the first clause of the 10-point proposal regarding the ceasefire in Lebanon, a commitment that President Sharif has also explicitly referred to and declared as an immediate ceasefire everywhere, including Lebanon and other regions, effective immediately. 2, the entry of an intruding drone into Iranian space, which was destroyed in the city of Lars in Fars province, a clear violation of the clause prohibiting any further violation of Iranian airspace. 3, denial of Iran's right to enrichment, which was included in the 6th clause of the framework. That's important because if you remember, Netanyahu said this war will continue until Iran doesn't have enriched uranium, either by war or by negotiation. Galibaf is saying that the 10-point deal allows them to have enriched uranium. Now, the very workable basis on which to negotiate has been openly and clearly violated even before the negotiations have begun. In such situations, a bilateral ceasefire, a negotiation, is reasonable. That is the statement of Galibaf, the head of the National Security Council, and you'd probably describe him as the chief negotiator. Apparently, he's also meant to be in Islamabad. Sorry, back to you, Rahul. I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right there, Suleiman. So from where I'm sitting, you know, Iran has every right to say, well, fuck all of this, because you guys cannot be trusted. Even though, as you quite rightly say, Trump's written statement, White House written statement, officially on the letterhead of the White House said that the 10-point plan is the premise of the discussions that we will have, and sit around the table and discuss it from there. So already just on day one, they've already violated, well, more than 3 from where I'm sitting, most certainly. So this thing is, it can never, ever, ever work. The point of the matter is that the Zionist agenda, it's a colonial agenda. It is about the theft of land. It will always be about the theft of land. The creation of the illegitimate state of Israel in any event is premised upon that. It's premised upon subjugation, ethnic cleansing, land theft, lies, and everything evil that you want to attach to it. And I'm not saying so sentimentally or emotionally. That's just what it is. So even if America and Iran come up with whatever agreement, make absolutely no mistake about it, Israel will reserve their prerogative and continue with their Greater Israel project. And because of the fact that no matter who, I know we say Trump is a madman and a pathological liar, and he's 80 years old and he's a pedophile and all of that. But even if Obama was in the White House, or Bernie Sanders or whoever it is was in the White House, the fact of the matter is that the White House is always under the control and dictatorship of the Zionists, either through Epstein or through AIPAC or through Miriam Adelson or through the mainstream media, which is owned by Zionists. So that, unfortunately, will always be the case. The only solution to all of this is for the American people to have a fucking revolution and uprising in America, because whether it's a Democrat or Republican, whether he speaks as eloquently as Barack Obama or he speaks a lot of crap like Donald Trump is, they are always going to be an agent of the Zionist agenda. That's the unfortunate reality. Thanks so much.
Raul, I agree with most of what you said, but I think you are a little bit underestimating the degree to which this administration has been co-opted. Like, I actually don't think prior administrations were subject to the influence to this degree. This is like on a whole different level.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you in that respect. I think the turning point, the trigger for that kind of acceleration and overtness was, of course, October the 7th of 2023, because it made them believe, the Zionist agenda together with the White House believe, okay, this is our opportunity. That coupled with the year before that, the special military operation of Russia into the Ukraine, where again, their intel underestimated Russia, made America and the Zionists believe that, okay, look, this is our opportunity to take over the world. And they went with it full guns blazing. So yeah, I do agree with you 100%. It has gone up like 1,000 notches since then.
Thanks for that. Let me just quickly read these super chats. Appreciate your support of the space. The only way we're able to do this spaces is with your support. First of all, Dennis and Kieran with the level 1 membership. Thank you for joining the membership and becoming an important members of the community. You don't beat our community, it's the best in the world. Philo says, why is Starmer in the Middle East? Why are Yvette Cooper, Von der Leyen, Kaja Kallas silent about Israel murdering Christians in Lebanon? Humasha, yeah, because they don't care about Christians, it's all about Zionism. And then in the website, which is the tweet in the nest, people are supporting as well. And says, I wish I would have known about your site on October the 7th. As soon as I caught the news, I said Gaza is effed. I've been wearing a Gaza bracket for almost 2 years, or bracelet, I believe. Never take it off. Love the channel, and especially Beatrix, Girls Rule. Okay, you're doing so well onto the last comment, but really appreciate your support of the space. We also have another super chat. Appreciate it with no comment, but appreciate your support. Suleiman and Beatrix, thank you for your awesome work. You're making a major impact on all generations, races, and religions, cultures, and nationalities. Appreciate your support of the space as well, Andrew. Appreciate your support of the space. I want to go to Andrew as well in a second, but just before I do, I just forgot that Andrew's on the space and I forgot to go to him. Hi, Suleiman. This is a Tunisian girl. It says, thank you for your war coverage. You and Beatrix did a great job. Let's hope Iran doesn't continue with this terrorist and false flag activities. I'm hoping that you address the planned execution of thousands of Palestinian hostages by Israel. Something needs to be done about such an evil crime against humanity. Yeah, we have addressed it. We've talked about it quite a bit, but we'll never stop talking about that. We got a very big super chat. Thank you so much, and thank you for all you do. Appreciate it. Another super chat saying, great space and thank you for your updates and truth. God bless you. Appreciate your support of the space as well. Appreciate each and every single one of you. By the way, guys, we have got an interview after an hour, I think it is, with Josephine, is it Galabo, the captain, who spoke out against the US and Israeli aggression against Palestine. Andrew, thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Give us your thoughts. It seems like possibly the ceasefire is broken. At least it's a tenuous situation.
Yeah, Suleiman, and no surprise, no shock. We talked about that extensively last night, actually, and although we were in joy. And joy meaning we're seeing this deal being brokered, but I think we're most happy to see America literally surrender. Now, when I say surrender, we know clearly, and I'm using the past tense here, not future, not present, the past tense, America lost. Simple past tense, the war, Iran won. Iran is still winning, and America is still losing. The biggest L is America, who is now in open shame, and National Zionist, the rabid dog, is National Zionist Israel. They're losing. They have the big L. But of course, they continue in open shame. They will not stop. Hassan, my brother, I agree 150%. This is, you said, a zero-sum game. Of course, we understand that. Now, what you're saying, Hassan, and let's be honest here, we all understand that the world hates with a passion. I say the majority, vast world, hates with a passion what these evil Zionists have done. And I can't even begin to bring myself. I was in Beirut, Lebanon in 1982-83. I spent almost a year of my life in the United States Navy, active duty as a boat officer, watching the complete, unimaginable. To this day, I will never get the smell out of my mind. The smells, and we were approximately 1,000 yards anchored off the coast. But when the wind would shift, the smell would hit us. And when I walked out on the weather deck one morning, I almost started to gag. It was a combined horrific smell of burning, I can't describe, like burning garbage and petroleum. And when I went ashore, I hated getting an order. I was a lieutenant. And when I got the command to go ashore to either supply, resupply, or bring in security for our Marines, the Marines were given the duty, the worst duty, and that was to keep the airport open at Beirut. I hated it because I couldn't stand bringing myself ashore. When I walked there, I saw the people suffering and the destruction that you cannot even begin to imagine, and we would not be able to even talk about the most evil IDF, because guess what? They did not have ROE. We had no ROE with them in our nightly briefings and security watch. That means rules of engagement. We were always told, nah, don't worry about the IDF. They have their own ROE. Like, what the hell? So I just want to, now, I know I'm going to get some pushback on this, but we used the H word. We knew in 1982 that Hezbollah was in existence. Yes, in our briefings, we were told that Hezbollah was in check. They would not be engaged, but we had to be more concerned about possible IDF strafes from artillery. And I hated the thought of having a 555, an Israeli jet coming in at 500 feet AGL doing a 5G egress route, right? Meaning they're going to drop some ordnance. The fear was there. We knew about the USS Liberty. And that's when I began to hate with a deep passion the IDF. But this was only the beginning. And so we have to stand. And we know that unless Israel is completely annihilated and destroyed, this will never end. And we're not allowed, and we're not going to go into the eschatological stuff, but we know eventually 2/3 of them, according to Islamic and Christian eschatology, they're going to get it. They're going to get it like never before. Worse than the first temple, worse than the second temple. That will even make the Holocaust look like child's play, what's coming to Israel very soon. But we're not, let's talk now. Let's stay in the realm of geopolitics. Let's stay in the realm of finance, economics, and military. We will be doing a deal. I know people get upset about that. Simon has been right. The deal's been working. It'll be back and forth. Ceasefire broke, ceasefire on, ceasefire. This insanity will keep continuing. The game will continue. And so don't give up, folks. I just got a text, but a young woman is very upset. But our hope is not in this world, but we keep our hope in our faith. Our faith and our love for each other is what grounds us. And we join our brothers and sisters in Islam. They want us to hate Islam. Christians, if you're told it's the Muslims, reject that hate. And then for those that come at me saying, why do you hate Jews? I don't hate Jews. I love them. I just want them to wake up and stop hating and killing. And we know our Muslim brothers and they're suffering. My dear, it hurts. So I won't keep rambling. Keep fighting the good fight. Our space has to keep putting the truth out there. And Suleiman, I'm sorry I rambled so long. I love you all. We got to keep sharing the space. And again, real fast, I'm going to land here. I have a very intelligent 14-year-old daughter. She's digging through Suleiman's videos. These YouTube videos are very, very important. He has a massive Library of Congress, a treasure trove of data. I was shocked. My daughter was running Suleiman's videos. She was running them through AI so she could extract the highlights and his reference points, the military experts coming in, financial experts. She got into Simon Dixon stuff and she goes, wow, Dad, this guy, and all of you, Thomas, I'm sorry I'm not mentioning names here, but Robert, your stuff and Darkside, all of the economic stuff, and Simon and Suleiman, your knowledge of geopolitics is extremely important. And Beatrice, dear Beatrice, you have 1,000 things you could be doing, but you've dedicated your life to this. I can't thank you all enough. Let's all stay together. Don't lose hope. We got to keep showing the lies so their lies can be exposed. And I'll land it here. Thank you, Suleiman.
Appreciate some more breaking news. Thank you for that, Andrew. Appreciate you as always. Islamic resistance in Iraq announced. Okay, so Islamic resistance in Iraq announced they will restart the war with the US. And to quote them, they said the following: Since the enemy is treacherous and violates the agreement with Iran, the Islamic resistance in Iraq will return to discipline him and make him regret it. So this is Iraq has said that they are going to be resuming the war with the United States of America as well.
Iraqi boys there, Suleiman.
They are your Iraqi boys, fam. Actually, I'm going to go to you in a second to give you your okay, what was it again? We have Pedro Sanchez said Netanyahu launches his harshest attack against Lebanon since the offensive began. His contempt for life and international law is intolerable. It's time to speak clearly. Lebanon must be included in the ceasefire. The international community must condemn the new violation of international law. The EU must suspend its association agreement with Israel, and there must be no impunity for these crimes. That is the Spanish statement on the war. I mentioned what Iran's parliament said. A parliament member said. It seems like the ceasefire is dead, to be honest. It seems like the ceasefire is over. I think the Iranians are coming out very clearly. Unless Trump changes direction, it seems like the ceasefire is dead. They said to the United States of America, choose between peace and security and freedom for the world, or choose Israel. Choose and abide by the agreement that we gave you, or choose Israel. And they've chosen Israel. Abbas Araghchi, with his statement, said, we have an agreement, we have a deal. Choose to stick with the agreement or choose Israel. There is no other choice. They have sacrificed everyone for Israel. This is the reality of the situation. They control everything. This is the world we live in. How can this ceasefire be broken? This was in the benefit of the United States of America. This was in the benefit of the world. You heard all the financial experts on here talking about how things were going to be so bad it would have been unbelievable. But the ceasefire does seem to be dead. I titled this space Ceasefire Day 1, and I had to change it to Iran War Day 40 because I realized that the ceasefire is dead as soon as we saw what was happening in Lebanon. Such destruction, such chaos, so many people dead. I believe it's above 400 people who've been died, thousands injured, apartment complexes destroyed, graveyards bombed, buildings destroyed. This entity is pure evil. And the fact that Trump is now lying and saying, oh, he tweeted out the 10-point agreement. The 10-point agreement had Lebanon in there. The 10-point agreement had that nuclear enrichment could happen. And Netanyahu has been coming out with different statements. They've chosen it. They've chosen Israel over the world, basically. The world's been sacrificed for Israel. Okay, let's go to Hussein, do you want to add anything about that? And then we'll go to Matrix.
Yeah, I was going to mention something about
No,
the
you.
Iraqi
Oh,
resistance.
sorry.
Oh, sorry, Hussein. Go ahead, Hussein.
No, I'll go after you, Hassan. It's okay.
Yeah, just to mention something about the Iraqi resistance. I think the Islamic Republic till now has still kept a few things under wrap, or held back, restraint, and it has things it can unleash. We know that it can still activate Bab al-Mandeb. It didn't choose to do that earlier on. The Iraqi resistance, I don't believe, is fully activated. We know that the Iraqi resistance fought the mercenaries of the Jewish colony and America for several years and was relentless in the fight against them, with many, many thousand Iraqi martyrs who lost their lives fighting against the evil, the Israeli-backed, the Jewish colony-backed terror forces. And so, they are something, I think they're somewhat an underestimated and unknown quantity. Maybe they will be unleashed in a future stage. But look, I think we've seen that this is a long war. I said this would be a long war, and we're into month 2. It could be several more months. Yeah, I don't see how this ends without complete surrender of one side.
Hussein?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Sully, 100%. They chose Israel over the entire world. Yeah, the entire world's economy is gonna go in the gutter, like it was trending to go prior to this quote unquote ceasefire. Again, I said it before, and I'll say it again. Netanyahu supposedly said he heard last minute about this and they do not want to concede the Lebanese part, even though Trump said that originally it was part of the deal. And again, the Pakistani official who was brokering this laid it out in a tweet and said exactly what it was. So unless he's calling him a liar, then he's an idiot because he never corrected him all this whole time between that time and now. But as soon as Netanyahu went and told Trump, "Hey, this is not how I want it to be," Trump said, "Okay, you know what? No, never mind. I never said Lebanon was part of the deal." And now they're claiming to say that this deal wasn't the original deal, and they're just going back on their word. So Trump is just a cuck. And to anybody who thinks that America owns Israel, this is your proof that it's completely the opposite. Israel owns America, and they will do whatever Israel says. Period.
Yeah. I mean, it's looking more and more like that. Trump gave the demands. He said that these were the demands. He sorry, what am I talking about? Yeah, the deadline. Sorry, I'm talking about, yeah. The deadline. Trump gave the deadline. The deadline was about to run out. He had no way or what to do. The Arab nations who General is it General Kane came out today and said that they were helping them throughout the wars. Everything I've been saying, the Americans are admitting now. Um, and he had to pull out. He was forced to pull out because he knew that those countries would have ceased to exist. And I think this was his way of getting out. Dan says apparently 4 of Zayad's sons are fleeing the Emirates for Greece. I haven't seen that, but I won't doubt it. I told you.
Suleiman, quick question.
Yep. Whoever's asking, yeah, go
Are
ahead.
you aware there was a threat that was made apparently by the Iranian leadership pertaining to talking about potentially attacking? Sorry, guys, I was exercising. Talking about potentially attacking some of these major data centers that belong to a lot of these, you know, AI bubble associated companies, Amazon, etc. Do you think that might have had an impact in this desperate sort of attempt to find a way to bring about a ceasefire, or not at all?
Yeah, highly. Yeah, I think that was definitely a factor. A lot of those offices' locations were worth billions of dollars. Uh, so yeah, I do think that they were a factor in the push for it because listen, if Iran Iran said they'd already hit some of them already, Oracle and a few others, and they'd actually put it on their list that they were going to destroy all those data centers. Destroying the data centers, actually, Simon's a good one to answer this question. Simon, in terms of the data centers, if in the Gulf states, so I'm talking about the data centers in the Gulf state, not in America. If hypothetically Iran was to have destroyed the locations of them, what level of impact would it have had on the kind of AI race? Simon, are you there? Okay, Simon's not there, but anyway.
He's not there, Suleiman. I can not that question. We'll wait for him to come back for that question. But I just want to say something really quickly. Yesterday, a deadline was issued to Hamas to demilitarize, to hand over all their weapons. Right. Today, Israel killed an Al Jazeera journalist in Gaza. Today. So what they want is they want nobody else to have any weapons in the region. They want no resistance in the region. And they want Israel to have a clear run to do whatever it wants, which will be the greater Israel, whatever it will be, all the terrorism that they do. How can you expect someone to give up their resistance while you are bombing them? While you literally killed journalists there today. They've also killed a couple of journalists in Lebanon today. But they killed an Al Jazeera one. Al Jazeera came out and said it in Gaza today as well. So they're going on their rampage. There is no ceasefire. There's nothing. And I think Suleiman's right. Trump had his back against the wall. So he issued this. He agreed to the 10-point plan. And Caroline Levitt has said, let me just give you some of this news quickly. What she said was, she said that Iran's 10-point plan was, I quote, thrown in the trash. So they agreed it last night. And now she stood on the podium saying Trump threw it in the trash. Would you trust them again? I just think it was stupid that Iran even went there. They've been bombed during negotiations before, or hoping that they went there prepared for this. That's what I'm hoping, that they didn't actually trust America and or Israel. This is crazy that this is happening. Let me just give you some other real quick news, then we'll go to Uncommon, who's just joined us. Where is he? Oh, I thought he was there. He's dropped. I don't know. Maybe he's still. Oh, there he is. He's got his hand up. Yeah, we'll come to you straight away. Let me just give a little bit of news, Uncommon, then we'll come to you. What Trump called it, right? This is disgraceful language they're using as well. So Trump was asked about Lebanon being included in the Iran ceasefire, and he says, no, it's a separate skirmish. They have killed hundreds of civilians in Lebanon today. They have gone right up to Beirut and bombed hundreds of civilians. That's not a separate skirmish. When you've gone into markets and town squares and bombed relentlessly, you cannot call it a separate skirmish. That's disgusting, insensitive language coming out from him. I need to tell you something else as well. The genocide that Israel's committing in some of the historic places of Lebanon, right? They hold the highest Christian percentage population in the Middle East. The highest Christian percentage population in the Middle East. 2 days ago, Israel bombed a synagogue. The highest Jewish population lives in Iran, in the Middle East, believe it or not. And Israel bombed their synagogue. Today, Israel has killed hundreds of Christians in Lebanon. And I know, I've been to Lebanon. They've got this beautiful kind of holy place at the top of a mountain where you have to go with a cable car, where they've got a statue of Mother Mary. You can't even talk when you go up there. All you can do is light a candle and pray. Like, it's such, for Christians, that whole southern Lebanon region is so sacred, so sacred. And there are hundreds dead today. Hospitals are full. The country's in a panic. They're asking for blood for anybody who can do it. And yet we have the White House siding with Netanyahu by saying, yeah, Lebanon's fine. It's a separate skirmish. So it's okay to kill the Christians there. They're not part of the ceasefire. They can be bombed by Israel. And Christian Zionists are supporting this. So you know they don't care for the Christianity. They don't even care for, it's not a Muslim thing, as Andrew said. They literally hit a synagogue 2 days ago and they killed hundreds of Christians today. This is about Israel's bloodlust and Israel wanting complete occupation of that territory. And it's about the fact that America just cannot say no to Israel. It just cannot say no to Israel. I don't know, I'm lost for words. Let's go to Uncommon and I'll come back to the news in a minute.
Let me just read, just before you go to Uncommon, let me read one of these super chats. It says, you keep shouting about ground invasion and urging UAE to evacuate. Will you take responsibility for the panic you may be causing unnecessarily? Okay, so let me answer both of those questions. Two elements by this Muslim Zionist. This is why they always say to me, why do you say Zionist, not Jew? Because we have Muslim Zionists, like these shills of the Gulf. We have Christian Zionists, like Hegseth. And then we have Jewish Zionists, like Kushner and Netanyahu and all the rest of them. Now, and the Muslim Zionists, I find them to be extremely annoying, I'll be honest with you. Because I feel like they should at least have some sense of, because what it is they talk about ummah, like the whole nation, and really they are the biggest betrayers. And today, Kane came out, didn't he? And what did he say? Desmond Kane, I think his name is. What's his name again? He came out today anyway, and he said what? He said that those countries that I mentioned have been helping and facilitating this war against Iran. They've not been helping and facilitating, just helping and facilitating, but they've actually been helping hit Iran as well. He said, this is what he said. This is Dan Kane. He said, I want to thank our Gulf partners who fought alongside each and every one of us every day. Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Jordan, all of whom joined us to protect and defend and protect our assets. So your countries are responsible. Now, let me speak to you about both of those points you said. The first one is ground invasion. Well, the ground invasion did happen. They tried to do it. I believe I was the first, I know I was the first one to mention it on the spaces and report it. And now there's so much evidence coming out that I was right. It's not my fault Your boys, your daddies, United States of America, failed in their mission for the ground invasion. They tried to go to south of Isfahan, set up a base there, procure the nuclear enrichment, and do a day-long ground invasion. Your boys failed. They got destroyed and decimated. This is why Trump had to bend the knee, put his tail between his legs, and leave. If there had been a ground invasion, or Trump had carried out his threat, your UAE would not exist anymore. It would not exist anymore. Yesterday, 8 p.m., 1 hour before, Trump had to bend the knee and cede, because your country, the UAE, would not exist anymore, you Zionist shill. And now that your daddies, Israel and the United States of America, have broken the ceasefire, yes, they are your daddies. They're the daddies of the UAE. They're your daddies. Now that they're bombing Lebanon, killing hundreds upon hundreds of innocent Lebanese people, the war's likely back on. And I would say that I would be so happy that Israel gets bombed and second your country. For you guys have facilitated this war against Iran. You guys are complicit in this war against Iran. The ground invasion, someone asked because there's low IQ. I already explained it. The pilot rescue wasn't the real mission. The real mission was to go to the south of Isfahan, and all the military experts agree with me now, to go to the south of Isfahan, to set up base there, and to retrieve the nuclear enriched uranium. That's why the guy who went missing was a very high-ranking colonel. Your boys failed. So now he needs to think, look, we failed in this. What are we going to do? Pull out or pull in? He decided to pull out, but now we don't know. We might go back in. We'll have to see. But that's where a UAE. And let me tell you about the UAE. You guys are as demonic as the Israelis. Because I call out, I don't care if you're a Jew, Muslim, or Christian, I'll call you out if you believe in supremacy, genocide, and you abuse people. You guys only call out Israel because they're doing it against you. You're like, oh, we're Muslims, they're doing it against us. That means we're against them. I'm not against Israel for that reason. I'm against Israel for their crimes against humanity, their crimes against men, women, and children. And I'm against your country of UAE for the exact same reason, for whatever Israel has done in Israel, whatever Israel has done in Gaza, at a similar, if not lower level, but I'd say probably similar, your country, the UAE, has done. And you've done it for gold. Just for a bit of bling bling. I would say that's worse. You've done it for materialism. At least these guys, although evil they are, in their demented mind, they think it's because of religious reasons. You guys did it for gold. You murdered the people of Sudan. You murdered the people of Somalia. You murdered the people of Yemen. Your country finances and funds hatred against Muslims abroad, but you're such a cook that you're willing to accept it. That's the reality of the situation of you Zayo cooks. So I'll continue calling out your fraudulent country of the UAE. And you shills are getting exposed. And don't cry because your daddy, the United States of America, failed in their ground mission. 2 of their MC-130s were taken out. I believe 1 or 2 of their little birds were taken out. The Black Hawks went down. You all tried the ground invasion. It just didn't work. Okay. Let's go to Uncommon. Uncommon, jump in.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Well, I guess as we discussed, the biggest risk to the deal falling apart was Israel, and obviously that seems to be holding true. Now, the thing that I find interesting, I guess the question to ask here, to a certain degree, it's irrelevant, but it is maybe an important question: is did the United States is it a show, or did the United States really want a deal and it's being wrecked after the fact? I'm not sure. I don't think we can tell just yet which it is. The thing that's concerning to me is that if, from what Larry Johnson was reporting this morning, 2 ships have made it through the Strait of Hormuz today before they reclosed it. But if you look at the price of oil, it's still proceeding like there's a ceasefire or a deal. Now, there's 2 possibilities. Either the market is thinking that it's going to take a day or 2 of hostilities to calm it all down, or the market's being manipulated. And Sully made the great point yesterday that the biggest leverage point that Iran has is the Strait of Hormuz. They know that, you know that, I know that, America certainly know. Everyone knows that. But that is why Trump has been so specific in how he's been timing when he says what he says, because he has to watch what the price of oil is. So my concern is that it could be a possibility that it's all fake. It was all fake in order to re-escalate. I don't know, but the other thing about it is normally I can smell these things out. It did seem very legitimate, like Mark Levin, Laura Loomer, and all the right people were pissed last night, which makes me, on the other hand, it didn't seem like an act to me, which makes me think America was really looking for an off ramp. They did cut out the Israelis because the Israelis were pissed and announced they left us out in the dark. And then when they woke up this morning, the Israelis came back in and said, Trump will release more on you, or we'll shoot you in the head, or we'll blow you up with a pager, or whatever they say to him. And now they're pretending like the 10-point deal isn't even a thing when Trump put it out on his own Truth Social post. So it's like we're living in, what fantasy land? I don't know what's going on, because I don't even know if the United States knows what's going on. So, the thing that is scary, though, is, like I've said before, if they can keep the price of oil lower, then I think they will continue the war, because that is the thing, that is the biggest weapon that Iran has. And I'm a little surprised that it hasn't responded more to the fact that only 2 ships are through, and it's basically still down 15% and the markets are still ripping. So we'll have to see. It's still fog of war. But yeah, Iran is not going to accept Lebanon getting mowed down. And it looks like Israel is not going to accept that they can't mow down women and children in Lebanon. So who knows where it goes? It's unfortunate. Now, I will say one last point that Daryl Cooper, the historian, popular historian guy, also known as Martyr May, pointed out. One of the best case scenarios here is actually that if the United States could remove itself and let Iran, Hezbollah, and Israel fight it out, and maybe Iran can do something that America cannot, because America does not seem that it can separate itself from Israel. If America can successfully not fund Israel, then Iran will put Israel in its place, because apparently America cannot do that. But it could be wishful thinking. I think we all agree that's probably wishful thinking. But that is probably the best case scenario, because on the one hand, let's assume America wants to try to go back into this war. Why they had a press conference today that already said we won. So how are they going to sell it to the American people? Maybe they can sell it as that's the other thing that leads me to believe that America really does want out of it, and the Israelis are trying to drag them back in. Because how are they going to sell it? They're going to say, well, Israel's bombing Lebanon, so we have to go attack Iran again. The only sales pitch is going to be, well, Iran's closing the strait, but everybody knows that the reason they closed the strait is because we attacked them first. And I don't even think, as good of a con man Trump is, he can sell it and win. So I think they're going to have to I don't know where something's going to break somewhere, but I don't know where it's going to be. Either the control of the United States from Israel will be broken, or it's going to be an energy war and it's going to continue to drag out. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, he's gonna sell it.
Um,
He's gonna sell it by lying and saying that wasn't the original plan that he agreed to. That's what he's doing right now, technically.
He posted it on his own True Social account.
No, I know exactly. He's an idiot, but he's going around saying this wasn't the original 10-point plan. When he posted it out, and so did the person from Pakistan as well.
I will say that. Okay.
It was
I will say that Laura Loomer, which I don't believe anything she says, but every now and again she slips up and tells the truth of something we don't know, because she is inside the administration, unfortunately. She said Trump wasn't in on the negotiations. And who knows if he's even running his own social account? Probably not, right? So he might be thinking he's agreed to something that he doesn't even know what he's agreed to. So it's so hard to tell. Or he's just in on the con the whole time because they lie so much. We can't disseminate truth from fiction.
Yeah, you're uncommon.